Hey everyone, this is Raikisu, or better known as raidraws on Tumblr. So today I'm going to show you guys how I make a basic illustration and the steps I go through when drawing. So the program I'll be using is Mongoose Studio 5, a really awesome program for people who want ridiculous amount of content to work with when illustrating anything. I've been using it for about a year now, and it's really the only thing I use. It goes for about $50 nowadays if you want to check it out, which I highly recommend you do if you're looking for a solid art program. Anyway, what we'll be drawing today is Bayleef, because it's cute and I like it and it's easy to draw. So, yeah. So, let's get started. So I started doing the sketch already. It's actually finished. I decided to do the sketch first just to get the line work and the color done, mostly because sketching takes a little longer than if you were to do the sketch, then the line art, then the color. So decided to go ahead and do the sketch beforehand. One of these days I'll do a video on sketching, but I find it's not as detailed as if I were to talk about line work and color. So yeah, I got my little sketch here. That's pretty cute. I'm just kind of cleaning it up a little bit before I start to do the line work. Make it a little more easier to figure out what I did here. Okay, so I got the little sketch here, not much to it. So I normally just go with the pencil tool, just because I don't want it to be too contrasting towards the line work when I do it. I want everything to look a little smoother. So, okay, we'll go ahead and start doing the line work here. So I always put the opacity to about 30%, just so it's easy to recognize what is line art and what is sketch. So I normally go with a thicker brush when I'm doing the line work, so it's easier to recognize and everything. I normally just so I can it's normally so that I can not have to switch brushes at all. So I could literally have the same size of brush and it doesn't really matter. It just depends on the pressure I put onto it. And it's a lot easier than having to go back to the options over here to pick which kind of size I need. So my line work doesn't take very long. Normally takes about 10 minutes, 20 minutes to do. Depends on the piece. Something like this will only take about 5 or 10 minutes to do, depending on what I need to change and all that. So one thing to notice is that my sketch is never the same to my line work. I always change it at some point. It doesn't matter where. It'll never look exactly like my sketch, which is totally okay. If you find that your sketch is just not working out well as line work, you could definitely change it. Sketching is definitely not set in stone. I find that you usually figure that out once you get to line work, what works and what doesn't, mostly because sketching seems it looks a lot more livelier than your line work, and that's just something that's just proven from looking at artwork itself and how the eye pays more attention to detail than line work. Line work is a lot more spacier and has a lot more negative space, so it doesn't look as nice as, say, a full sketch of something that's really messy. And sometimes I have my line work very messy for that reason. I actually prefer to do my work a lot messier than, say, something like this, but I decided to do a little bit of a thicker, cleaner line work just for this video, just to show the process of what I go through when doing that. And as you can see, I do a lot of undoing when it comes to line work. I do it a lot. funny because some people think I've had friends and family kind of comment that I must have some sort of like OCD thing with my line work because I'm always undoing it. I don't think I do. I just think I'm very picky about how I want my line work to look. Probably making more mistakes now that I talked about it. Alrighty, so it looks like we have most of the body done. So like I said, it doesn't take very long for me to do line work. Especially Bayleef. Bayleef is so easy to draw. I love it. All of the little Chikorita Pokemon are so easy. It's mostly just a giant grass dinosaur. Not much to it. Well, I guess its tail is a little bit bigger than that, so I'll just fix that. Like I said, your sketch will never look exactly like your line work, and that's because you tend to find more mistakes as you're lining than sketching. And so I'm just gonna fix the canvas there. It looks like I might have moved it while I was editing. There we go. Okay, so looks like that's good. I'm gonna start doing the leaf. You know, I say I really like drawing Bayleef, but its head is such an awkward size. I might fix it here. I think its eye is a little too close, so let me just fix that real quick. There we go. Alright, so we'll just do the leaf here. So as you noticed, I do a lot of curves. I do just a lot of really quick motions. I don't really pay a lot of focus on how I do the strokes, more on how the flow looks. I know a lot of people ask, like, how do you do like such really flowy line work and very clean and all that. It's just the way you do it. Like if you're somebody who pays way too much attention on how the line work should look, like it's kind of hard to explain with words. Like it'd be more if I decided to instead of doing the leaf the way I did, like that, kind of like going more of a flowy kind of look. Everything's very curvy. It's as if I would go like, you know, like I would go like this and try to like really work on how it's being drawn. It's gonna give you a less flowy look, obviously. I mean, if you're gonna work with very jagged strokes, it's just not gonna look as nice as if you just let your hand just be very loose with the line work. Don't worry too much about how it's looking. Curvy anatomy and looks tend to look a lot more better than focusing. Because another thing that you could end up doing is you could focus on one part of your drawing too much, and then it's just gonna end up standing out to the rest of your drawing. So gotta look out for that. See, I'm just kind of fixing certain areas. Some of them look a little jagged, not as nice. Sometimes if it looks like I kind of like maybe if I held my pen a little weird and it kind of just went like that instead of like that, I go to fix it before I'm done everything. Okay. looks like I got the body done. I'm just gonna quickly put the sprouts on its neck. These guys are always very tricky to draw. You know, I like drawing Bayleef, but it's like little bud things are so awkward to draw sometimes. It's really nice to draw when you're just doing it really simple, but when you're really adding detail like this, it's hard to keep them all the same size and like in the same space apart and everything like that. See, like I want to fix this because it just doesn't look as good. Yeah, okay, that'll have to do. I mean, it's not as perfect, but this is just a tutorial drawing, so it's not gonna be amazing. This is just kind of like how I basically draw. Like, this is all the steps I'm gonna be taking is how I normally draw, like a very simple drawing. It's not gonna be anything too insane. Like if I were to be doing a commission or like a large image of something, this is just pretty much how I draw on a daily basis. Okay, alright, so I'm just gonna quickly clean this up. Okay, that looks like a good Bayleef. Alrighty, so we are done the line work. And I'm just gonna get rid of that sketch layer there so I know exactly how it looks without the sketch. Okay, so the next step that I do for the line work is I like to duplicate the line work layer. I get a question like this all the time on Tumblr about how I do this. So I duplicate the line art layer and I go up here to where it says filter blur Gaussian layer, or Gaussian blur, sorry, and I blur the second layer of line work. See how it looks kind of glowy now? So that's how I get my glow on my drawings. It's very, very easy to do. And the look to it looks really cool. So what I like to do after that is I like to make the layer a multiply layer and then lock it and then give it some color. So instead of it being just a solid black over top, we're gonna make it green. Just so it stands out a little bit better than if we were to just do black. So we keep those on two separate layers. You don't want to merge them, because afterwards we're going to want to try to clean up the drawing itself, and if you merge them, it's going to end up being a lot more difficult. Alright, so now we're going to go to coloring. So my color layer is always on normal while I do this, and it's going to be underneath the line work and the blur layer. So I just kind of fill it in where I need to, and it's alright if it bleeds through, obviously. I'm not being very careful here, so alright. Being a little more careful as I get to the body, just so it's a little easier to clean up. So, as you notice, this is all on one layer. I do not separate my colors. I used to. I used to do it, but as time went on, I kind of decided, you know, I really like doing paintier styles, so I'm alright with color bleeding through. Alright, and I'm just gonna color the little toes. And we're just gonna add some white to the eyes. So this is all still on one layer. Okay, so it looks like we got our flats done. So now what we're going to want to do is we're going to be shading. So normally I do a multiply layer for this, but this time I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to paint it right on top of this layer and not add a new one. So the way that I do this is I use my Bear brush. My Bear brush is a custom brush that I got from Manga Studio 5. I found it on DeviantArt. I can't remember where I found it, unfortunately. I'm sorry. It was a while ago that I got this. I really like it because it makes everything look very chalky. And kind of charcoal, I guess. I love using it for stuff like my Pokemon drawings and for like more paintier kind of look like this. So yeah, it's really good. I definitely suggest that if you have Manga Studio that you look for custom brushes on DeviantArt. Some of them are for sale. I know that you can actually buy some custom brushes. I think this one might have been free. That or I purchased it and I forgot. Yeah, so I kind of just shade where I think it looks nice. I, ironically, cannot do light sources very well. I just never had the knack for it, which is ironic because I should really know where my light sources are. But I kind of go with what looks nice. So definitely don't be me. Definitely take the time to learn your light sources because it makes everything look a lot nicer. Alright, so looks like that looks alright. So I'm actually going to blend that into the drawing. So the way that I do that is I uncheck the mix ground with color option. That way it lets me blend the colors together, and that's because everything's on the same layer. If you were to use multiply, you wouldn't really be able to do this. It would kind of just make it all muddy and not blending very well. So now what do is I put a little bit of green in there just to make it look a lot nicer. Make it look like it has more depth and that the green parts of the leaf and the sprouts are reflecting off of the body. So it just makes it look a lot more believable. Alright, that looks good. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna color a little bit of the leaf. Same thing, we're just gonna pick the color which looks the best, which honestly I can't really explain how I pick colors. I get a lot of questions about how I know what looks best when I'm choosing colors. Honestly, I kind of just pick and choose. Like right now I'm just kind of going through the color palette and seeing what looks the nicest. I usually go for stuff that's not too the same. Like that looks okay. And you can find some pretty good DeviantArt tutorials on this too. Like I know there's a couple of really good color theory tutorials on DeviantArt and Tumblr. Like I know a really good one from Purple Kecleon. They do some really good tutorials, and that's mainly how I figured out how to do a lot of the really cool color shading. Most of it is just from practice and figure out what looks nice. So, yeah. Other than that, I'm not a lot of help, ironically, with colors. Because I find coloring is my strongest skill when it comes to drawing. Just always been very good at it. Not to toot my own horn or anything. So it looks like we're almost done here. So it's a very simple drawing. Not very much going on. Just a cute little bay leaf. Okay, and so now we're just gonna fix the toes because I got some body color in there. Make it a little bit lower than the white, just to give it that contrast. And then fix the toes here. Looks like we kind of put a little too much contrast on that. Let me fix that. Almost looks like he's wearing nail polish. That looks good. Yep, that looks good. Alrighty. So now we're just gonna quickly do the eyes here. It's pretty simple. I just take a color that I think looks best, and then I kind of go like that, and then I blend it a little bit. Not too much. Alright, and I'm just gonna fix the eyes here, and I'm going to quickly do the mouth. So the mouth, same thing. Not a whole lot going on here. Just pick the kind of color that looks the best, and then fill it in accordingly. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so we are done coloring. So the next thing that you want to do is you want to get rid of all this excess color. So it looks very messy here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna select our line work layer, the first one. We don't want to pick the blurred one. So that what we do is we select outside of the drawing so that it selects around its body. What you're going to want to do is you want to go back to the color layer, cut. So that way the excess color is gone and you just have what's filled in. Okay, so it's time to color the layer, or the line work. So we're going to put the line work on multiply. So that way when we shade, we get a really cool painty effect. I'm all about my painty effect. And you kind of just go with what looks the best. I'm not being too careful about it. Usually I'm pretty careful about what colors how they go and what colors bleed through and everything, but it's a pretty simple sketch, so I'm not going to worry too much about that right now. Okay, and so now let's just quickly do the eyes here. I don't know why I like to give Bayleef blue eyes. I know, like, in the show and in the games it has red eyes, but I don't know. I prefer to give it blue eyes. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So eyes are pretty simple to do. I think they're the most fun to do because the result always looks the prettiest. So what you're gonna want to do is we are gonna darken the top of them to match the shaded parts of the eyes there. So we're gonna go into a different layer here. It's gonna be a normal layer. This is gonna be on top of the line work and the blurred layer, so that way the color really works. Oh, I'm using the wrong brush here. There we go. kind of just eyeball it here, no pun intended. So this is pretty sharp against the eyes here, so what I like to do is I like to give it a little bit of a curve there, and then I like to go into my airbrush and have it blend a little bit better, so that way it looks a lot nicer. It's not as sharp on the eyes or anything like that. Put some detail. Maybe put a little bit of a darker tone here. We might have to make a multiply layer for this just to give it the effect that we want. There we go. That looks good. Yeah. Yay. Okay. That looks like a pretty cool bay leaf. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much how I draw a simple, basic drawing. Not much to it, just a lot of steps and everything like that. I hope I explained it alright. This is kind of the first time that I've drawn something and commented on it while I did. Usually very quiet about how I draw and everything, so it's kind of hard to really talk about it on a microphone. So I hope it was educational enough for people to follow along or kind of figure out how I do certain things when it comes to my line work or coloring. Yeah, so I'll be making more videos like this in the future. I'm not necessarily sure if it's going to be something frequent on my channel or not. It might be something more towards my Patreon. If you're ever kind of wanting more videos like this, I would definitely suggest going to my Patreon and becoming a patron, because I'm going to be posting more videos like this on there rather than leaving it on my YouTube channel. So yeah, if you're ever interested in that, I definitely suggest that. There'll be a link below if you're curious. Yeah, so thanks for watching.